as promised, let's do a best underrated
So I guess it is
and
for
worst
resale.
for the entirety of all of the Yeezys put together. The
Bet.
best Yeezy that has ever released is the...
So we got every Yeezy ever made, most common to rare. So now in this video, you guys, becoming with this actual idea and the whole process, I saw and came across this video actually a couple months ago, but I never reacted to it simply because, I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't the right time. But I feel like now that the Yeezy brand is kind of taken away from us and we don't have the same Yeezy sneakers that we had before coming out and releasing, I feel like this is a great time because now we can actually dwell and kind of we'll have like a little bit of nostalgic vibes in this video. So I feel like we can both enjoy this. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and react to it. This is by the one and only Elliot Page, as y'all can see from this little intro. And yeah, this is gonna be a great video, y'all. Let me know what was your favorite Yeezy before we go ahead and start this video off. My personally had to be the Yeezy slides. I don't know, I think it has to be the Yeezy slides. Yeah, I was gonna say those or either the other slides that I put on the video or on the when I edit this video. I don't know what they're actually called, but those are amazing to me. But the Yeezy slides got to be the most comfortable for sure. So I feel like I'm going comfortability. I'm kind of on a little trend wave. I feel like a lot of people are in comfortability sneakers or just comfortable sneakers in general in 2025. But yeah, let's go ahead and react to it. I know this is going to be a great video.
In 2013, Kanye West announced to the world that he had just
And I'm going to be munching, y'all. I'm a little hungry, I ain't going to lie.
Adidas. 2 years later, in 2015, they would release their very first shoe collaborating together. The Adidas Yeezy partnership generated...
And y'all don't make it weird if I'm eating a banana on camera, y'all. Don't act like y'all never ate a banana on camera. Like, since when is it weird to eat a banana, a hot dog, or something else on camera? Like, y'all don't make it weird. I know y'all ain't, because we family.
Both Kanye West and Adidas themselves. In total, they released 266 different pairs of shoes together, all the way up until October the 25th, 2022, when they announced that the Adidas and Yeezy partnership was over. Now, even though it's been well over a year since the partnership ended, Adidas decided to continue.
Anyways, I wanted to also talk about like the whole Yeezy, the other Yeezy line that he has. And I think the site is still down. I haven't really checked, but I heard a couple months back, I did a couple reactions, and they were talking about how the site is down and that basically like there's no way to get in contact really with Yeezy. So I was wondering, how do y'all feel about that whole brand? Is it still trustworthy? Are y'all still rocking with the Yeezy brand since the split of Adidas? Me personally, I feel like it makes them look weird. I'm not gonna lie, like with the whole, like even the ad they had on Super Bowl, it looked kind of crazy to me, and I feel like it's just not as taken seriously as it was before. Like it doesn't really seem like a real brand. I know he's making bread off it, so I'm sure his pockets ain't hurting too much. But
continue releasing the rest of
yeah, man, it's crazy to see Yeezy go.
Warehouse because the whole collaboration ended so
Make sure
suddenly.
you're still recording.
Here in 2024, pretty much all of the shoes have been released, so I thought it'd be a great time to kind of mark this collaboration in history and look back on every single pair that ever released.
Them
so we're going to
Yeezy
be going through these Yeezys in a very specific order: the most common pair that you can find and the rarest Yeezy that you can find. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to crown the best, most underrated, and the worst out of all of the models put together. Strap in, it's gonna be a big one, so let's get started. The Yeezy
This background music is a W.
I think a lot of you guys could have guessed this one by
yeah, this is not rare. I literally just see this in the gym the other day. This is valid.
Common Yeezy model
dropped
that
24th, 2016. That's
these,
crazy.
Giving you guys the best
9 years
colorway,
ago.
The most underrated colorway and the worst colorway. So in total, the 350 V2 had 71 different colorways. The first colorway that dropped was this one right over here, the Yeezy 350 V2 Beluga. They dropped September the 24th, 2016. And honestly, I think they did a pretty good job with the 350 V2. Like, it was a massive upgrade.
I like that zebra colorway. Is it called zebra?
It's incredibly comfortable.
That one looked calm to me.
I think people kind of got a little bit,
I think that might be my favorite colorway look out of all of them.
They were doing because a lot of them were pretty similar. Nevertheless, they had a good run. So I think the best colorway I'm gonna crown out of all of the different 350s has got to be the Beluga. Zebra. And the most underrated
zebra. I was like, what?
Has to be the Ash Stone.
You look, you fooled me with that one.
Low-key one, but I just feel like the kind of distressing on the upper with the color, the black and the red stripe, I thought looked really good. And then the worst colorway out of all.
Damn. Of course he hit us with the ad.
of all of them has to be the Yeezy 350 Mono Mist. That's when they decided to put
L
plastic
colorway. I'm
as
gonna lie, I
the
agree with them.
lidded upper
Even
for
though I
some
don't even know all the
reason.
colorways.
It wears really bad.
That's
like,
definitely
all of
went
the
out. That's
stitching
definitely stay on
kind
the
of
shelf
comes
for me.
and yeah, just overall by far the worst, at least in my opinion. The very last Yeezy 350 V2 colorway that you could have bought was the steel gray, which dropped in 2023. Now this one got a lot of attention for being the unapproved Yeezy 350. Basically, Ye went on Instagram and said that he did not approve this colorway, and Adidas went ahead and released it anyway. So yeah, that one's kind of shrouded in some sort of controversy, but that's the final one that they dropped. The second most common Yeezy that you're gonna find is the Yeezy Foam Runner. 21 different.
This is the one that I said I liked. I actually like these a lot. I feel like Speed kind of put me on, but he did it though. But yeah, these is fire. I've never tried them on, but I know they got to be comfortable for sure. But I've always wondered, do you wear socks or no socks with these right here? I feel like you gotta wear socks. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about wearing like slides, footwear, anything like that without socks. I feel like that's kind of crazy.
Released. The first one being the Ararat colorway that dropped in 2020. Now the final Yeezy Foam Runner that released was the Carbon colorway, which was actually pretty similar to a couple other different ones that they also dropped. But that was also a 2023 release for those. So the best colorway has to be these, in my opinion, the Sand colorway. I know the Ararat is practically the exact same thing, but this one was just a little bit easier to get your hands on. It's one that, yeah, I absolutely love. I've got like 2, maybe even 3 pairs of these things, as you can see in the background. The most
now, Elliot Page is the Yeezy connoisseur.
Sage. It's like a little bit of a mixture effect, and I just thought.
I know he must hate not making like reviews on them, because he really used to do it back in the day.
Has to be the clay red. They're just a little bit too clay and a little bit too red, and they just kind of look awkward on that model.
It don't look red to me.
Very close behind the Yeezy Foam Runner, the next most common is
the Yeezy
380. They made 20
I
different
never heard of these
Yeezys
right here.
Model. The first one that dropped was the Alien colorway back in 2019. It's a very interesting pair of shoes. I feel like they changed the name of this pair at very last minute, because it was leaked and rumored to be the new Yeezy 350 V3, and it kind of made sense because it has so much in common with the V2s and I guess kind of the V1s. But last
like a
minute they
shoe.
swapped it out, and I know that Adidas has even made some shoe boxes that say V3 on it for this pair of shoes. Now the very last colorway that you could have got on the 380s was the Pyrite colorway from 2021. So yeah, they put this silhouette to bed pretty early. I also will say they have dropped 20 different colorways on this model, but a lot of them were the same. So they did this weird thing, they also did it with the 350s, where they would release the same colorway twice, except one of them was reflective, the other one was non-reflective. This was a little bit of a weird thing. It was kind of like marketing. Reflective, the other one
reflective,
was non-reflective.
Non-reflective.
The same colorway twice.
Reflective.
Except one of them was.
That's crazy.
The other one was
I can barely even tell the difference.
This was a little bit of a weird thing. It was kind of like marketing, because they would make the reflective versions incredibly limited and then the regular ones like not that limited. So it kind of just drew a little bit more hype towards the reflective versions. But yeah, it just oversaturated this model, and I feel like they could have done some more colorways, because I think overall the 380 is a massively underrated sneaker. The best colorway on the 380s has to be the Calcite Glow. It's pretty much like a all over white pair of shoes until you step outside.
I just don't like the style of it.
They just light up. The most underrated
That's
colorway
crazy.
I
It's
think
glow in
has
the dark.
to be the Yakerite. It was extremely limited.
Yakerite.
Only dropped in Asia or the US.
I
rock with that. Just a really nice color combination. And then the worst, I think, is pretty easy. It's the Highlight colorway, the Vomit colorway. Next up is the Yeezy Slide. We're getting a little bit more,
these are not rare. I've seen too many hoopers wearing these slides right here.
Popular Yeezy models. Everybody seemed to love these things, and I think it definitely is a combination of like the looks, but also the practicality. These things are like one of the most comfortable things that you can put on your feet. They originally released the Yeezy Slide back in June of 2019, and funny story is they dropped 3 colorways at the same time, which all kind of sat. They had the Desert Sand, the Bone colorway, and the Resin colorway, and nobody seemed to really like them when they first launched. It took a while for them to sell out, unlike other Yeezy models, which would just fly. Now, the final release of these things, the last time they ever dropped a slide, a new colorway, was the Carbons from 2023. But I think think the best
Granite?
colorway that they dropped on the Yeezy slide has to be this one, which is the bone colorway. The most underrated, I think, is the Inflame Orange, a super nice bright orange color.
Super
Definitely
nice color.
not as wearable, but super nice for a pair of slides. And then the worst colorway is probably got to be the Slate Marine, just because it looked so similar to the rest of them.
Really though?
Is probably
I'm
kind of
rocking with these though. It's like gray. I feel like it's more wearable than the orange ones.
Just because
Worse?
it looked so similar to the rest of
They
them.
don't have
It's
like a
just kind
booger
of
green type of
a little
colorway.
bit black, but not really. So yeah.
Why do I
just,
feel like they
yeah,
had a
that's not my
booger green type of
Next
colorway?
up, we got the iconic Yeezy 700 V1.
He's
The
one of
first
the
time
ones.
we saw the
I ain't gonna lie.
700 V1 model was this colorway, the Wave Runners from 2017. And kind of like the Yeezy slides, when they first launched this specific pair.
Bro, I'm so mad that to this day, I've never had a pair of Yeezy sneakers or slides. I guess I missed the whole wave, but I feel like I can get them in the future. But I feel like, oh, actually, they low-key might be low on price. I low-key need to check. But, man, I wish I was there for the wave. I feel like I don't really spend too much money on sneakers because it's like I could be saving it up and then, like, build myself up first and then be able to buy whatever I want in the future. But it's like, I can't believe I missed that whole wave.
People hated that. There was memes flooding around online. People said that these kind of look like jet skis and that they're just super ugly. But it's funny because
I feel like people hate them until people like them.
People, especially sneakerheads,
once everybody likes them, everyone wants to hop on the wave.
Favorite Yeezy ever now, so it just shows what time does. Now, the last time that you could have bought a new colorway 700 model was the high-res red colorway from 2022. But obviously, and I think this is pretty predictable, but the best colorway on this model has to be the original Wave Runner. It's so unique and it really defines this silhouette pretty perfectly. The most underrated colorway though, I think has to be the 700 V1 Magnet. That one was also very limited. You don't see them very often and it's just a really nice color combination. It kind of tones things down from the Wave Runner but still has, you know, some splashes of brightness. And then the worst colorway in my opinion has to be the Fade Azure. In total, they only dropped 15 different colorways of the 700.
This is pretty cool.
I feel like I wish that they dropped a bunch more. Next up, we got the Yeezy 500 with only 14 different colorways ever
Is he supposed to be a hooping shoe?
I've
seen people hooping these.
2018, and this was the first colorway that we saw. It's called Blush. Now, the last colorway that you could have ever bought was actually pretty recent, 2023. That was the Stone Taupe one, or the all-over white with the gum outsole. I think the 500 definitely kind of gives me like the old Yeezy vibes, like when they were dropping the 700 V1, kind of like those iconic Yeezy models. And it definitely is a solid pair of shoes. You've got really nice materials and it's decently comfortable. But the best colorway has to be the original, at least for me personally. This Blush colorway, a really nice kind of, you know, deserty, slightly tan, slightly gray color, very, very wearable. The most underrated one I think has to be the Stone. It's a pretty unique pair of the 500s because it has this neoprene padding instead of the mesh, and it really changes the entire look of the pair of shoes, and it's also like slightly more comfortable because there's just more padding on the upper. And then I think the worst colorway has to be the Inflame. It's just, yeah, it's just a bit too loud. Next up, we got the Yeezy Quantum with just the same as the 500s.
These look horrible to me.
Released on these. Now, the
original
launch was this colorway, just kind of called the OG Quantum colorway, and that was back in 2020, February the 16th for All-Star Weekend. I remember it so well because this was probably one of the most chaotic and hyped released Yeezys of all time. This was a shoe that was leaked and rumored for a very long time. People were excited to see what Yeezy had to bring to the table in terms of a performance basketball shoe. And when they released these things, it was super weird. They came through in Sherp trucks. They drove
this
through
is
Chicago.
Definitely Ye's idea right here.
Pairs of these. Not just
definitely,
out
no
free,
doubt.
They were also trading them. So they were like, hey, if you give me the shoes off of your feet, I'll give you this pair of Quantums. And people were trading like the Fear of God basketball shoes that they did with Nike from back in the day. Yeah, it was crazy. Now, the last colorway that you could have got on this model was the Miss Slate, also from 2023. And I think people give this this model a little bit of a hard time because it had such incredible hype, but now, and well, I guess during when they were actually releasing these things, it was definitely not the most popular model. Potentially a little bit underrated, maybe a little bit of a mixture of like over and underrated because there was so much hype in the beginning. But I've got to say the best colorway has to be this OG OG Quantum. I think it just defines the silhouette really well, and it's almost like they designed the silhouette with this colorway in mind. An underrated colorway would definitely have to be the high-res orange. I just really like that highlighter color on this silhouette as well. And then the worst one has to be the teal one, just because there's nothing really special about them, and it just, yeah, it's just a color that's meh. Next up, we have the Yeezy 700 MNVN, another pretty dope pair of shoes. They only dropped 12 different colorways of these. This was the first or
does it say 700 along the design of the shoe?
2019. And if you didn't know, these were actually designed in part by Christian Tresser, one of the most, I guess you could almost say, most important shoe designers on the planet. He actually designed the Nike Air
What
Max
y'all know about
97
him?
and a bunch
I don't know
of
nothing. I can't
shoes.
tell y'all
You can kind
that.
of tell because these stand out quite
I have never heard his
from
name
like
before.
the rest of the lineup, even though they share the exact same midsole as the regular 700s, like the V1s and the V2s. They've got the same boost. It's the upper that is really, really different, made out of some kind of nylon feeling material. Now, the last time you could have got a pair of these was 2022 when they dropped the laceless version, which I actually really like, and that was the white colorway or the analog colorway. In fact, my favorite colorway or the best colorway on the 700 MNVN is that laceless analog. I think it improves the comfort. It makes it a little bit more of a slip-on and off type shoe. The most underrated colorway that I think has to be the phosphor.
I low-key feel like in 2025, one of the sneaker trends we're going to see coming up is going to be laceless sneakers. Y'all let me know. I feel like that's one of the things that are on the rise. And actually, that's going to be one of the things I'll talk about in my next video about the sneaker trends that will be huge in 2025. But low-key, Yeezy was ahead of the time. They're ahead of their time.
The like highlighter green pair, that is really, really nice, and I think it goes with this.
That would be a crazy plot twist if Yeezy and Adidas get back.
Resin colorway, just because it's like it's not really here, it's not really there. It's just yeah, meh colorway. Sticking with 700s, next up we got the 700 V3. They only dropped 11 different colorways of this model. I guess it shows how much they liked the 700 because they did a V1, V2, V3, MNVN. The list goes on. Now this is actually the launch colorway, the very first pair that dropped back in 2019. It's called Azael. And the very last time, or the last colorway that ever released on this model was the Fade Salt from 2022. This is a really kind of like a futuristic take on the 700 model. It doesn't have boost, which makes them a little bit less comfortable, but the upper is really, really cool, semi-translucent with this plasticky feeling mesh. It also glows in the dark, which is pretty sick. And just overall, it's definitely one of my favorite Yeezy models. It's a great silhouette, and I think this is the best colorway that dropped, the Azaels. The most underrated would probably go to the Kyanite, another very solid one. And the worst one just has to be the Copper Fade. Like, come on, it has to be those. Next up, the Yeezy 450. Only 10 different colorways of this
like
model ever released. This
y'all
being the first one.
Y'all let me know what y'all feel about these ones right here.
And the last colorway that you could have got
it
was
legit
the
look like some socks.
Marine, I believe,
or like today, I feel like you would call them mules.
But yeah, I feel like the 450s had a lot of potential. I just don't think they really achieved that potential. They dropped pretty much every single colorway was monochromatic, and this crazy looking shoe, you're telling me you didn't switch up the colors like the top to the weird outsole? Like, that would have been so cool. Yeah, there was a lot of potential here. I just don't think they had enough time to really flesh this silhouette out. Still dope and still a part of the Yeezy history, so yeah, I'm gonna say that this is the best colorway, the Cloud White. The most underrated, probably the Stone Flax colorway, the nice kind of grayish brown. And the worst one, probably just the Sulfurs, just that, you know, that kind of snotty yellow. Yeah, nah. Next up, we got the 500 Highs. This was a pretty interesting silhouette.
It's gotta be
they
hooping
almost
shoe.
tried to attempt to do what they did with the 700s, where they had multiple different versions. They tried to attempt to do the same thing with the 500s, and it kind of worked. But in the end, they only released 9 different colorways. I
love these ones right here. If y'all see my mouse cursor, I don't know what it is about that brownish, reddish type of colorway, but I don't know. I like it. I'm Miako with it.
More scarce now. We're getting into that scarce territory where you don't often see too many of these floating around. The original launch colorway that dropped was called Slate Blue, and that one basically dropped back in 2019. Kind of towards the end of the year, though, right in like the December time. The last colorway that ever released as part of this collaboration was the Mist Stone from 2023, and that is, of course, this one right here. And I actually think this is the best colorway. This is the best colorway that they've done. Just very simple, and I think it just works with this silhouette
very clean.
well. It's a solid pair. This is the kind of neoprene material that I was talking about with the 500 lows. Makes them very comfortable, that puffy material. It's nice. The most underrated colorway though, I think has to be the frozen blue. Just that pop of color with the nice white colors is really, really solid. And then the worst one, the sumac. Yeah. Definitely, that's the worst one. Next up, we got the Yeezy.
That was why that was the best one. He said the worst one.
It's a little bit of a sad one because they only released 8 different colorways of this sneaker model. And they really stopped dropping them quite early because the last colorway that you could have got was the mauve that dropped in 2021.
Mauve.
So there was like 3 years where there's just like nothing. This is
I wonder how they come up with these colorway names.
The Statics from 2018. And it is also the best colorway that dropped on this sneaker model. Again, it's a similar story to the Quantums where it feels like they designed this sneaker with this colorway in mind. The most underrated though I think has to be the Inertias. That's always been a colorway that I really, really liked, and it's just, yeah, a little bit brighter, a little bit, you know, something going on, but still very wearable. And then the worst colorway probably has to be the mauve because it's like, you know, it was nothing really new, nothing refreshing, and just, yeah, not my favorite. Next up, with only 6 different colorways that ever released, the Yeezy Power Phase. It's funny, I never really understood this model. It first launched all the way back in 2017, so it was like kind of part of one of the original Yeezy models, but it was really nothing special. It was, you know, this is just like an existing Adidas model that I guess they just stamped the Yeezy name on it. There was a few upgrades, like I've got, like, this is one of the softest and nicest leathers I have ever felt on any shoe, which makes them so incredibly comfortable for what they are. Now, when they originally dropped back in 2017, it was the core white colorway that dropped first, and then the last release was only a couple years later in 2019 with the simple brown colorway. So yeah, I think the best one was the core white because I think a white pair of shoes with this model is just like a perfect daily. The most underrated, probably the gray colorway. That one was really solid. And then the worst one, probably just the simple brown because, yeah, brown, suede, not the most popular choice. Next up, we got the Yeezy Knit Runner. We're getting into rare territory now because only 6 different colorways of these were made. Now, this very bizarre looking
and they super rare. I've never seen this before in my life.
2021, the first colorway that released was the Sulfur. You remember, like the banana Homer Simpson ones? And then the last colorway that you could have got was this one. I thought it was my time to pick this one up. This dropped in 2023. It's called the Fade Onyx colorway. These are actually really comfortable. If you can get over the fact that they are like a bit odd, they just look odd when you're wearing them. If you can get over that, they are comfortable.
They kind of look like the $20 Yeezy drop.
Nice kind of
style he had recently.
Did want to walk around in something that kind of just, you know, is understated, kind of looks like socks. Now the best colorway I would say is the Stone Onyx. It's practically the exact same as this one, black, just a little bit darker. The most underrated I actually think is the Sulfur colorway because I think it's just such a loud and crazy option. Not very many people would choose that, but I think once you actually throw them on with like some blue jeans, they look pretty cool. And then the worst one has to be the Faded Azure. Like, damn, those things just look too bad. It was like a dye attempt gone wrong or something. Next up, we got the Yeezy 350 V2 Compact. This one is kind of like the ugly duckling of the Yeezys. But yeah, they only dropped 6 pairs of these as well. And it's also like, it's crazy because this is one of the more ugly ones, but the most comfortable one. So the first colorway that dropped on this model was called Slate Blue, and that released back in 2021. And the last time that they dropped a new colorway was 2023, the Slate Onyx colorway. Yeah, so this is a pretty bizarre model. It basically takes a lot of the 350 V2, like obviously it has the exact same midsole with the boost underneath, but then it replaces the upper for this insanely stretchy, and also like there's literally a memory foam pillow placed in between the knit above your foot. So they turn out to be like insanely comfortable. Now I've got to say this is the best colorway that's dropped. The Panda colorway, just black, white, a little bit of gray on here. The most underrated, maybe the white ones, the Slate Bones, but yeah, there's not really too much in it. And then the worst one is probably the Slate Blues. Just, you know, like that weird bluish upper with the brown midsole. Yeah, a little bit odd. Even more rare, we have the Yeezy 950. Only 5 different colorways of this shoe, boot, sneaker ever released. Now this is actually one of the first Yeezys ever. I think it's like maybe the 2nd or 3rd. So they dropped all the way back in 2015, along with in the same year as like when they first dropped the first ever Yeezy. So they dropped a bunch of them all at the same time, all in 2015. So
I wonder what retail. Did he say what the retail price was on these?
Ever. I think it's like maybe the 2nd.
Oh, you don't even have retail. Total made is only 5?
Now this is actually one
Or maybe it
colorways
means
of this
colorways.
shoe, boot, sneaker, this in the same time, all in 2015. So yeah, but this is basically the original one, the Pirate Blacks. I actually don't think this was a very popular pair of shoes when it first dropped. I think people were just like a little bit disconnected to them. They do have like a little bit of an odd look. They are classified as like a duck boot because this kind of rubber extends over the toe box. But yeah, I remember these sitting on shelves a little bit. They also retail for like $600. So yeah, it's a lot of money to sink into a pair of boots. Nevertheless, the quality is pretty insane, and it's yeah, it's a nice one to have for sure. Best colorway has to be this one, the Pirate Blacks. Most underrated, probably the Moon Rocks. And then the worst one, the Chocolates, just because I feel like I wouldn't wear them that often. One of the most iconic and one of the most rare Yeezys that you can find is this, the 350 V1 with only 4 colorways ever released. This is actually the second Yeezy model that ever dropped. They dropped back in 2015 with the launch colorway kind of being, I believe it was the Turtle Doves. And then the last one that dropped was 2015 as well. It was the Oxford Tan colorway. But I gotta give it to the Pirate Blacks as being the best colorway. These things are just, yeah, it's nice all murdered out. I think this is a pair of shoes that is extremely iconic, but yeah, they did make some pretty major leaps when they made the V2. It's just so much more comfortable, so much better looking, so much more durable, better quality. So yeah, they really made a huge improvement on these things, but nevertheless, these are definitely iconic. It's like one of those shoes where you look at them and they just immediately make you think of fake shoes just because of like how many replicas were floating around when these things first released. In fact, and don't tell anybody about this, but back in 2015, I had a pair of the Oxford Tans, except they were fake. Back then, there was no way of getting them. They were selling for thousands. I had nowhere near that kind of money, and I found someone selling them. I knew they were fake, and yeah, it's like I rocked them, and I didn't tell anybody until now. Okay, you know my secrets. Most underrated has to be the Oxford Tans. For me, they hold a special place. I always.
And I go lie, I feel like there's a little rise in reps right now. I've been posting about rep content for a little while now, like top 5 reps. Trusted sellers, safe and affordable rep websites, and I've been realizing y'all have been like reciprocating, liking those videos, and I'm wondering why. Y'all let me know in the comment section, but it seems like a lot of people are more acceptable reps. I feel like because they're maybe more affordable, and it's easier to get like those designer kicks or whatever kicks you can't get at a certain price at a like a 1-to-1, like it basically looks real. So yeah, I don't know. How do y'all feel about reps? I feel like I personally, if I got sent some reps, I probably would wear them, but I probably wouldn't go out and wear them because I'm just, I'm not really into like designer sneakers to the point where I gotta buy the lower price. If y'all feel what I'm trying to put down, I guess the sneaker isn't really that important to me. I'd rather just rock out with some Air Force Ones or something.
Save 40% on the entertainment you love, like Netflix and Max, Disney.
I don't know. And then the worst one, maybe the Turtle Doves. Probably my least favorite out of the 4, but still a nice colorway. You're gonna hate me for this next one, but the next one is the Yeezy 750, which I do not have. And look, I thought about buying it for this video, but I don't have $3K to spend on those things. So yes, the Yeezy 750, the first ever Yeezy and Adidas sneaker.
That is crazy.
They dropped also back in 2015. That was also
they gotta be super rare
kind of drop, and they launched with the first colorway called just like OG brown, light brown. I always thought that the 750 was pretty cool. It was never really my favorite Yeezy, so that's why I don't have them, because I don't have anything that's like, apart from them being the first and super iconic, there's not something about them that I am like over the moon about. But if I had to pick up the best colorway, be the OG light brown. The most underrated, maybe.
How's that brown? Is that not gray?
Over the moon about. But if I had to pick up the best colorway, be the OG light brown.
How
the
is
most
this brown?
Underrated, maybe the black, even though I don't think it's necessarily underrated. And then the worst one, probably the chocolate. But yeah, only 4 colorways of the 750 ever.
Seem like the chocolate is like
more rare,
one of his
and for
worst
good
colorways.
Reason is these freaking things. The Yeezy knit basketball, only 4 colorways as well, ever released. Thank God. This is the worst Yeezy ever.
Like you're gonna break your ankles while hooping. Is there even support?
I think the first colorway was this one, which they called the slate blue. The last one that dropped was the slate onyx colorway from 2022. Now look, the reason why I hate this shoe so freaking much is because these are literally damn near impossible to get on your feet. Now, Look,
I hope
I
y'all
know
can't hear
it's
me
hard
munching,
to
y'all.
kind of understand when you're watching
I
this
just gotta be
through
eating
a
crazy,
camera,
y'all. I'm trying to
but if
bulk
you
up
just try at
crazy.
some point in
Y'all
your
let me know
life,
if y'all in
the
y'all
times where I've tried to put these
gym
things on
journey
my
right now. I've
feet,
been in the gym
I
for
end up
almost 4
sweating.
months
I
now.
pull freaking back muscle,
And I've been seeing a
or
lot of
my
results, so
ankle
I gotta
starts
keep eating.
snapping as I'm trying to get these things on, and they're literally made like that. Like, it's not like, you know, I'm buying a shoe that's not big enough for me. It's literally that they just made them so freaking awkward to put on that you end up just being so frustrated, you end up hating these things. Nevertheless, the most underrated colorway, probably the Slate Azure, even though it's pretty mid. But the worst one has to be the Energy Glows, for sure. Next up, also with only 4 colorways to its name, the Yeezy Desert Boot. These originally dropped back in 2019. This was
This is
the
hard.
colorway, the Rock.
I'm glad I
The last
definitely
pair
got.
that you could have ever got was the taupe blue colorway from 2021. This is a pair of shoes that is aged kind of like beautifully. It seems like people like these more and more every single year. When they originally dropped, I feel like people were just kind of like, meh, you know, some people liked them, some people didn't. But now it's like crowned as one of the best, you know, boots ever. I really like them.
I feel like
This
I've
has
seen
to
them
be
on
my favorite
Instagram,
colorway, the
or
original
like
rock
TikTok,
pair.
like
The
with some
most
like fashion
underrated, though, has
influencer or
to be those
something.
taupe blues. Just having that weird pop of blue at the bottom looks sick. And then the worst one, probably the Salts. I just don't know if that colorway specifically works on this type of boot, you know, as like more of a rugged military style shoe. We are getting very, very rare at this point. This is the next one, the Yeezy 500 Tactical Boot with 2 colorways ever released. You see what I was saying about them trying to make the 500 similar to the 700, where there's a bunch of different versions? Yeah, this is another version that dropped. So it has the exact same 500 midsole, it's just the upper that is significantly different. Funny thing about these is they originally launched in 2023. That's like a year post the collaboration ending. And then the last colorway that dropped was literally a couple months ago in 2024.
They still dropping Yeezys?
This is a pair of shoes that I feel
Anyway, they're
like
still
they
making
would
money
have
off this
done
man.
a lot of other different versions, different colors on, but I think it just came down to the wire. Obviously, the collaboration was done. They had made 2 colorways, and they were just like, hell, we've got all these pairs, we've got to launch them. But the history behind this pair of shoes, it goes pretty deep. Like, Kanye and the team were sampling this pair of shoes for a very, very long time. This was like something they were sampling back in like 2020, 2019, maybe. A bunch of different versions with different soles, but I think they were really trying to touch on some kind of military style shoe, and this ended up being the final product, which is really, really nice. It's super
Very
comfortable
militant.
for what it is, but I just feel like it's very expensive, $300 for these things, so it didn't end up being that popular. Nevertheless, I actually think the best colorway is
Isn't that like
the
a
sand
regular
one. I
price
just
for a
think
pair
it
of
matches
Yeezys?
the style of the shoe a lot more, and then
I feel like that's why I
the
didn't
last
buy
one is
any.
these, but both of them are pretty solid. With only one.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I'm low-key a cheapskate when it comes to like things. Like I feel like I'll have the money in my account, even like way more than that. But it's like I don't know. I feel like when it comes to certain things, I won't spend the money because I feel like I'd rather save it, invest it, or do something else with it. I feel like once I get like a lot more money, then I'll probably do it. But right now, it really don't make no sense.
Colorway ever released, we got the
Even though I do like
Yeezy
being fly, I
450
just feel like I
slide.
gotta wait
almost
until that
feel
time
like
where I
they
can
were,
really be
like,
fly
not
on a
supposed to
consistent
release,
basis.
and like because these dropped in 2023, with obviously this is the only colorway. So obviously the collaboration had ended, and I just wonder if they made a bunch of these and then, like, you know, because of the collaboration ending, they were never going to release them, but now they were like, well, we've got pairs, let's just drop them. They were $110, which is very, very expensive for a pair of slides that doesn't even cover your feet. Like, you see your feet all the way through. But they did make this with the same kind of foam that's on the regular Yeezy slides, so they are incredibly comfortable. But yeah,
I don't think 110 is too bad.
Creation, which I think is really sick. I am glad that they dropped these things because it's a nice pair to have as like one of those super rare limited Yeezys that is always just gonna kind of be there now that the collaboration is done. Piece of history. Oh, we are in the end game now, guys, because next up we have this insane shoe, the Yeezy insulated boot, with only 1 colorway ever released. Now, these originally dropped back in 2021 as an extremely exclusive US only release. I think they obviously knew that not that many people are going to be able to throw these on and walk out the door. Like, not
Why?
only, I mean, are they like a crazy design where
It's
it's
the
almost
US
like
only?
a rugged foam runner boot style outsole, but they're also super like massive and blankety at the top. They kind of make you look like you're leaning forward, like when you're flat, they kind of lean forward. So it's like, yeah, it's an interesting, weird pair of shoes. But yeah, it's certainly one of my more favorite pairs of Yeezys, just because this really does show that they were working on some insane designs that were kind of pushing the sneaker game forwards with just like, you know, just insane creativity. So these were called khaki, the only colorway that they dropped. I know that they were sampling a couple different ones. Ye was seen wearing some black ones, which I wish dropped, but yeah, obviously we're here now and it's over. Next up,
I wonder, does Ye still wear his old Yeezy sneakers, like the Adidas ones? I wonder if he's has some hard feelings or if he still wears them.
Runner boot. Now they only made one colorway of these. I say even more rare because I don't think we've seen any other samples of different colorways. Unlike the insulated boots where we saw the black ones, these ones just dropped and were only ever seen in really this colorway. So these also dropped in 2021, literally like maybe a month or two apart from those insulated boots. It was kind of dropped as like a crazy package. Just here, have our two craziest designs. This is called the Sulfur colorway. Very, very interesting pair of shoes that I am a huge fan of. They're insanely comfortable. They are designed and made in the USA. They're waterproof, and they show your shoe size for some reason. They literally out you. If you're a US 7, now you got it printed there. They're like soft on the upper, so yeah, they're super comfortable. These are, yeah, a really, really cool pair of shoes that I'm so glad that I managed to get and will always stay in my crazy Yeezy collection. But
Kenzie, stop. Kenzie. Sorry, y'all. If y'all hear the dog in the background, man, I ain't never heard of a dog that snores before in my entire life until I see my aunt's dog. Like, man be snoring like he's a whole adult with a full job, a full-time job. Like, what's going on? But yeah, I'm sorry if y'all hear the snoring, y'all.
But even more rare, and the final one on this list, which technically shouldn't really be on this list, it's the Yeezy 1050 boot. So the only reason I'm including it is because it is probably the closest to retail we ever had of a release which didn't technically release.
Never released? How did he get his hands on them?
Zero colorways of this released to the public. So yes, this pair of shoes is a sample. You can see on the tag over here. Not for resale. A very, very
So what happens if you resell them?
So these were pretty much like production ready. The only issue with these is that they ended up just being too expensive for Adidas and Yeezy to actually make. So they decided to make a bunch of different samples to gift out to different people. They gave these things out to a bunch of employees and they gifted it to a few different rappers and Ye's friends. But that is about it. There's rumored to have only 300 pairs.
How does he have his hands on them then?
It's a pair of shoes that I know was very, very close to a release at $400. I think December 2021 was the time when they were kind of teased to drop. Ye wore them to a Donda listening party and it got everybody excited, but unfortunately they never ended up happening. Technically shouldn't be on this list, but I thought I'd include them anyway because, you know, I spent a lot of money on these. I need a freaking, you know, hey, look at them. I spent like 2 to 3K on these things. But as promised, let's do a best underrated
so I guess it is for resale.
For the entirety of all of the Yeezys put together. The
Bet.
best Yeezy that has ever released is the Yeezy Foam Runner. I think this is
what?
Such a
I ain't gonna lie. I told y'all, this had to be one of my most favorites. I ain't gonna lie. I never tried them on, but just looking at them, I know they got to be comfortable too. So it's just like looking at them, they got nice style. You got colorways to pick from. I feel like you really can't go wrong with it. I feel like either these or the Yeezy slides or
originally
the other ones. I feel like the 720s,
China versions.
Something like that.
Made with algae. It's a design that really started the entire industry going in a
definitely a valid pick
of
for
trying
sure.
to make foam shoes. It's insanely comfortable. It's the best kind of foam clog out there in my opinion, and I think just a very innovative design. Definitely the best one.
Speed be wearing them crazy too. Speed kind of put me on.
380. I think these are insanely
most underrated.
They did some really cool colorways like this.
I never seen these in real life. I ain't gonna hold you.
I just feel like they got a little bit of a bad rap. People just didn't really feel them that much. But
Glow in
if
Dark
you,
2 is
you know,
definitely
kind of put
a
off by
dope
the
point
fact
to
that
these
only
right here.
like, what, 10 different colorways were made, I think you should try them out. They're solid. The worst one, you know what I'm gonna say, is these freaking things. Like, don't make me freaking break my back trying to get my feet into them. This is the worst Yeezy ever. I actually
They definitely
hate
do not look
I
wearable.
hate it. But there you go, guys. I thought this would be a bit of fun. This is a kind of a video that could just live on the channel forever because we're not gonna see any new Yeezys. I don't.
That's for real. That's why I wanted to react to
know.
this video
Adidas
for real.
decides
Cause
to
it's like we
produce
never
more
gonna
of
see him
them.
again.
It would be wild.
I felt like
and
it's gonna
very
be,
terrible,
or it
but
was a
it's
very
something that
nostalgic
potentially
video
could
for
happen.
sure.
Either way, I want to know from you guys. Give me those three. What is the best Yeezy that is ever released? What
No
is the
cap.
most
Yo, that's gonna cap it off. Very great video from Elliot. I'll put the video down below in the description. But yeah, you guys, I want you guys to let me know what was your best, underrated, and also what was the last one? And the worst. I ain't gonna lie. Underrated. I really can't even tell you what's underrated. I feel like I can tell you my best. My best one off rip has to probably be the Yeezy slides. I actually worn them. The underrated one I would have to say would be those boots. I don't know if they're underrated, but they're underrated to me because I feel like I haven't really seen them too much. But if I can pull up these ones right here, I feel like these are kind of underrated to me. And then the worst ones, I probably agree with him. I feel like these is kind of whack. The ones he talked about at the end, for sure. I ain't gonna lie, they even look terrible to even put on your feet. But with that being said, yeah, that had to be my best, worst, and also underrated. Y'all let me know in the comment section. And yeah, with that being said, you guys, I'll see y'all in the next one. If y'all want to see some more reaction videos from me, go ahead and click the video up here.